Hello. Thank you for tuning in to Spotlight Podcast. Today we have a special guest who is doing an amazing thing in the local food production. He helps people grow their own foods at home and make their communities healthier. He turns empty lines to unusual lands to beautiful food forests that produces food after a year. Let's give him a warm welcome. Travis, how you doing today?
Great. How's it going? Thanks for having me.
How did you start your food business?
About and this is gonna be year 5. So 5 years ago, friend of mine down in Florida. So he had 52-acre property down there that is 100% off grid, and we planted out a starter food forest down there just to see how things would happen down there. And it's about 600 square feet. We planted about 50 different types of food, fruit trees, lemons, limes, pineapples, all types of stuff, and just to see how things would grow. And it took off. Within 6 months, we're talking trees 4 or 5 feet high and just thriving. So basically, my whole thing has always been about growing food and, helping our underserved communities. There's not a lot of food options in a lot of our underserved communities, and you don't have access to really good food. And there's a lot of properties that are abandoned and a lot of lands that you can grow food on. And so basically we came up with a business plan to design food forests in residential properties and commercial properties using permaculture principles. And permaculture is permanent culture. Basically, we work with nature instead of against nature. And basically, when we plant out a food forest, it's a low maintenance ecosystem versus a lawn that you have to maintain all the time. If you know, lawns are some of the most chemical heavy crops in the entire United States, but it produces no yield. And all those poisons, glyphosate and the Roundup, that stuff gets in our water, gets in our food. And so basically, we want to transform all our land, unused lands, city parks into food forests and solve food insecurity and, food
That's interesting. Could you tell the viewers where you're from?
I'm from Apple Valley, Minnesota, which is about 15 minutes from the Minneapolis St. Paul International Airport. I'm from St. Paul, Minnesota, but so in one of the suburbs.
Is that where you grew up at?
Yeah, I grew up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and then after high school, I went in the Marine Corps back in the Desert Storm veteran, and came back to Minnesota after I got out of the Marines, and I've been here since.
How was your childhood like growing up there?
I have an identical twin brother, so I always had someone to play with every day. I didn't have to worry about finding friends. I always had someone to fight with every single day. Because that's what our interaction ended up being every single day is fighting with each other, right? But we grew up playing sports, and back when I was a kid, your parents, as soon as there was light outside, kicked you out of the house, right? You go play and don't come back till the street lights come on or till it's dinner time. So we spent all our time outside playing sports, going fishing at a lake that was a couple miles away, and just doing kid stuff, being kids. A lot, nothing like they're doing today, sitting on their phones all the time. Not getting any exposure to the environment. So I had a pretty good career, playing baseball, wrestling, football, all that stuff until I went in the Marines. So good child.
I thank you for your service.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
What do you enjoy most about your work?
Knowing I am making a difference in the families, in the family's life, so I go into a property and I might plant 60 fruit trees on their property and a whole bunch of other different types of food. Well, they have small children, so every single day of their life, they're going to go outside their back door, have food at their fingertips, and with that comes health. They're going to be a lot more healthy eating fresh, local food right out your back door instead of all the processed and ultra processed food that's in your stores, in the grocery stores. That's causing all the sickness. So, but just knowing them kids are going to grow up being self sufficient, and knowing how to grow food, which is a skill in itself that I think every kid should start learning in schools.
Yeah, I believe that. How do you stay motivated every day?
Go to the gym every day. That's whatever. I wake up, I get in my office, and walk right down to my office and get to work. I mean, in spring and summer months, I'm going to somebody's property to install a food forest design. So during the winter months is my sales time, lead generation, and then designing properties for the spring. And if I don't have a good day, I'm going to the gym as soon as I'm done working. So that's my motivation every single day is when I get to the gym, all my problems go away. And I also get to take care of myself and come up with new ideas while I'm working out and just it's my me time, but it keeps me motivated.
Who inspired you in your personal and
Man, there's quite a few people. I think my three boys inspire me. I have three boys, 26, 24, and 21. And they I raised them. I was raised them as a single father, and they were involved in sports, and they had a lot of success. My youngest was as a freshman, he was a starting pitcher on varsity at high school, and opening day starter, left-handed pitcher, and just they were on state championship wrestling teams in high school, so they got to experience a lot of success. And now, usually a single parent doesn't have a lot of success raising kids by themselves. They don't always have the best upbringing sometimes, and even though I wasn't made out of money as a single parent, they still got involved in sports, and now they turn out to be amazing boys, and they have great jobs. They have great women in their lives, and that's what that keeps me motivated every day, just seeing how they're growing up and all the success they're having in their life.
That's awesome. What's the best advice you ever received?
Man, don't ever give up. You know, it's never nothing's ever going to work out 100% of the time. So just keep working, because eventually learn from your mistakes. You're just going to keep working. Eventually it's all going to work out.
What is the biggest challenge you ever faced and how did you overcome it?
I'm in the middle of some big challenges now because I'm in the winter months. I can't work outside. And when I am working outside, I don't have time to do a lot of marketing during the summer because I'm working and then I got to do my video editing and do all my social media. It doesn't leave me a lot of time for sales and marketing. So now this is my slow month. So now I'm trying to, I got to dig out of, being in a hole, I guess you could say, because I didn't get to market all summer long. So now that happens every year, but this year is just a little more down than others. So just gotta keep working at it, and eventually it all works out. And like
Gotcha.
I've been starting to get on podcasts too, and try to help spread my message about growing food, and that seems to help.
Got you. How did you build your business and brand?
Well, from the ground up, I didn't have no mentors. I had my partner down in Florida, but he was just as green as I was, but even greener because he doesn't have the skills I do because I'm a web developer by career. Before I started this, I design websites, web development, SEO, graphic design, all that stuff. So I built my own website, on my social media and basically built this business from the ground up, and also learned how to become a permaculture designer, which takes a lot of work because there's a lot of stuff that goes, involved in that. But also, I have never run this type of business, so I had to learn, build my own system on how to do estimates and then source all the materials once my design is finished. So there's so many moving parts in this business, and I'm wearing every single hat, and so it's trying to, and I'm slowly building up a team to where I can hand off a lot of, stuff, everyday tasks that I do that make my job easier so I can focus on growing the company more. But yeah, it's just nobody else around here in Minnesota has a business like this unless I train them. So that's it around here. So it's kind of, I'm hacking through the jungle on my own right now.
What strategies helped you grow your employees?
Let's see. Well, one thing is work with nature, not against it. And that, that could go for growing food, but that can grow with life. Sometimes you self-sabotage yourself, and you get in your own way instead of working with what you got, so it's one of the, every day that can be a challenge, so it's about overcoming, the bumps in the road every day.
All right. How do you balance your business with other companies?
Well, business comes first, and it's easier now because my kids are all out on their own. I'm an empty nester, so I just live by myself now. So all my time is focused on my business for the most part. When something important comes up, I'll make time for it. But like, always make time for my gym time every single day. So that's, other than that, I'll make time for it if it's important.
What success stories have you seen from your projects?
Well, one went down to Bastrop, Texas, and it's a suburb of Austin, Texas. And I don't know if you ever saw the show on HBO called Entourage. It was on HBO for a long time, and there's a lead character on there named Vinny Chase, and he's a Hollywood actor. His name's Adrian Grenier. Well, we designed. He has a 22-acre ranch down in Texas, and we transformed his backyard into a food forest and a vineyard, grapevines, and his fiance at the time, she was starting to study Chinese herbal medicine because she wanted to learn all the medicinal aspects of herbs. And so we built a special place for her so she can have a place to meditate and grow all of her herbs. And basically that we did this in a 4-day period. So we transformed this property. It was probably about 2 acres that we designed. And we had 30 people show up from all over the United States to come and help us install this food forest. And no one ever met each other before. So they were trying to learn from us. This is the first time they ever installed a food forest. So we're basically training them all at the same time as installing this. So plus we were filming it for a TV pilot on how to grow food. So we had a film crew there, and we had to go source. I'm running around all the nurseries getting fruit trees, berry bushes, all types of stuff to put in the ground there, and going to Home Depot to get all the lumber so we can build trellises for the grapes, the grapevines, but we accomplished this. I was there for 6 days, but the entire install took 4. So, and it was filmed the entire time. And it just went from an overgrown backyard, like weeds 3-4 feet high in some places, and chopped down, and then it turned into a completely transformed property with food growing all over the place. Just amazing. It was just an amazing transformation, and all these people that came together to make this happen, and it went smoother than it could ever went. So I guess that was one of the biggest successes so far.
I like that story. How do the food forests contribute to the environmental health?
Well, we do not grow with pesticides, chemical fertilizers, or herbicides, or anything like that. Everything is how nature intends it to grow. So, like when I put a fruit tree, an apple tree, or a pear tree, or a plum tree, or something in the ground, I'm planting other trees and bushes and stuff around that and plants that all help that fruit tree grow, and they all help each other, and when you're not growing with poisons or chemicals, so all your food is 100% nutrient dense. You're getting, and it's in your own backyard or it's locally grown instead of the food supply. It's coming from, uh, it could be coming from California, it could come from Florida, or come from overseas. Well, they spray chemicals on that food so it doesn't deteriorate and rot on the way to your grocery store, and by the time it gets to your grocery store, there's no nutritional value left in that food. Because as soon as you pick your fruit or vegetable off that vine or off that tree, it's dead. It's no longer living. So it no longer has a source that helps it grow. So from that moment, it starts losing its nutritional value. And, it could be 2 or 3 weeks from the time something gets all the way across the country to your grocery store. And so you're getting food that's not very good for you versus if everything's locally grown, you're saving all that time from all those fuel costs, all the exhaust from all your vehicles, and all that time it takes traveling from warehouse to warehouse to warehouse till it gets to the grocery store versus a city park or a community garden or your backyard where you can just go pick it right off the tree or right off the vine, and it's healthy, and that can change a family's health, you know, and they're not eating those processed food. And because once you're sick, you're kind of stuck in that hamster wheel with big pharma, going to the clinic all the time to get out, and they're not, doctors are not taught nutrition. They're taught how to give pills to treat symptoms. And so if you can stay away from the doctor, stay away from the clinic by eating nutrition, healthy food, everybody wins. The community and the family that's growing that food.
Yeah, we like going to the farmer's market and actually getting our stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so tell me, I always wondered this. I don't know anything about growing a plant. What happens if you would leave like some grapes or an apple on a tree past this time?
It's going to go right back to nature. Oh, it's probably going to fall out the tree, and the wildlife's going to get it, or the bugs are going to get it. That's a circle of life for that tree or plant. It's all going to fall off eventually if you don't pick it. And just like you have winter down in Kansas there, and we have winter here, all the trees go dormant and they drop their leaves, they drop everything, and they go to sleep for the winter. So all that goes right back and builds healthy soil. So, yeah, nothing goes to waste because nature can use it. That's
Gotcha,
constantly
gotcha.
keeping soil.
I always wonder, is this like, does it go to waste? Do they actually pick it? Does it fall? Stuff like that. Um, where are your goals in the future of your business?
Basically, right now I'm looking at properties like within an hour to 90 minutes from downtown St. Paul and downtown Minneapolis, which is basically the center of the capital city in Minnesota here. And I'm looking for land to build a large scale permaculture farm and it'll become an educational site for people to learn how to grow food and permaculture. And also, I'm going to be putting some tiny homes on the property where They'll be used as Airbnbs where people can come and stay on the property overnight and live in a food forest where all the food is provided by the property, which will have chickens, cows, bees. So you'll have your eggs for, it's everything's, and it's 100% off grid. So you have solar, water, everything is provided by the property 100%. And so that's my main goal. And that is going to be like a flagship property to show how it can be done and how easy it is to grow food and get them set up all over the place eventually.
That's are there any new projects or initiatives or you been planning?
Well, yeah, I got usually when I design the property, and in the if I'm planting in the annual garden is your vegetable, your tomatoes and your peppers and cucumbers and all that stuff. You plant that in the spring and you're done in the fall. Well, your apple trees and your pear trees, all your fruit and strawberries, those are perennials, so they come back year after year. So when I plan out a property, if I'm planting in the fall, I can only plant perennials. I can't plant the annual stuff. So I put everything I can in the ground. I can plant right up until the ground freezes. So usually I'm planting right up until Thanksgiving. And then I put a dormant tree in the ground. And then over the winter, the roots start taking hold and they start maturing. And then in the spring, they wake up. But so I call that phase one. And then the other part is phase two. So now in the spring, the 5 projects I did at the end of the season this year, I'll be going back in the spring to do the rest of their installation that I designed. So, and then they usually take it from there. Once I have everything planted, some people want to do it themselves, so they're going to learn. Otherwise, they hire my company. We come in, we maintain that for them. So, those are I just get ready for springtime when I get all my projects in the grounds.
What do you see in the future of local food production?
I think that's the way we solve a lot of the world's biggest problems is local food production. And then we cut out the poison producers. And then we cut out all the big agriculture, they're growing a lot of food, but they're growing it with herbicides and pesticides and chemical fertilizers and GMO seeds, which these GMO seeds are made to kill the pests that are eating. So it's in the DNA of the plant or whatever, corn or whatever. So we're eating that stuff. And that's why people are so unhealthy. But if we take food and we start growing it locally on all our public parks, we pay taxes. So all our taxes should be benefiting us. And I'm trying to get all these cities to they got their police departments, their city halls, and every school, they have green grass that it just sits there, it does nothing. And they got to maintain that. We can plant fruit trees and berry bushes everywhere. And, nobody goes hungry. And not only does everyone get healthy, crime rates are going to go down because people that are not hungry do not commit crime, right? When people are hungry, they get desperate and, to do whatever they have to so they can eat. But if you have food growing you have your streets lined with fruit trees everywhere, nobody ever goes hungry. And I just see that as a way to solve a lot of the problems that we have, with sickness, food security.
What's a fun fact about you that most people don't know about?
All the young cats at the gym call me Stone Cold. They come up to me, hey, does everyone told you look like Stone Cold? Or if I go in a smoke shop or whatever, yeah, they just it's fun. Or Goldberg or Stone Cold,
I was about to say Goldberg.
Yeah, it's really it's fun. It's fun, it's a good ego boost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and my kids love it too. I bring my kids to the gym with me sometimes. They meet me, and that one thing that has rubbed off onto them. They're gym rats like I am, so they're all in amazing shape. Obviously they were athletes growing up. It's Now it's in them, so they work out every day and they got their own programs they're on. So yeah,
That's good.
yeah,
That's
stone
good.
cold.
What is the most interesting thing about food forest?
I think it's just watching the cycle of, I've always been interested in putting a seed in the ground, or you put in a pot in your window and just watch it sprout and watch it grow. And then whatever it's supposed to be, it could be a pepper, strawberry, tomato or whatever. And just watching that whole cycle happen. And, I grow indoors too, because obviously you can't grow outside in the winter. So I have a grow room in my basement. I have banana trees and lemon trees, lime trees, olive tree, pomegranate, and stuff like that. So it's pretty fun. I just like watch the whole thing. Growing food is pretty fun. It's just
Yeah,
interesting because you learn from watching things grow. And as in, like I said before, you grow with nature and not against it. So you gotta, and yeah. So and like when you're designing a property too, you have to the wind patterns, the sun patterns. Everything needs a certain amount of sun every day, and you have rainfall. And if you got hills in your yard, the water rushes down or the water pools up or it could flood in certain areas. So we have to be able to work with that and direct the water where we want it to go or capture it. And that's energy coming into your uh, ecosystem. So we learn how to harness all that. And yeah, it's interesting. Yep, watching how everything works, and then you figure out how to make it work for that particular property.
interesting. If you had to give advice to someone that didn't know what they was doing to grow something, what would it be?
Just start small. You know, Order yourself. You can go right on Amazon and get a herb kit, and it might have basil and oregano and sage and rosemary, and 5 or 6 herbs, and get your little pots. Put them in your kitchen window or wherever you got sun coming in, and learn and just watch. And then, if you're living in a warm climate, you can get a cloth bag and put soil in them and throw a tomato plant in there or throw a pepper plant, and you know just start small. It's addicting once you get started because it's pretty easy. But the larger you get, the more time you got to put into it too.
Can you share a memorable experience from your work?
Yeah, just well, I was at a property. It's Norwood Young America. It's like little over an hour from me. It's the middle of farm country, and this guy bought an old hobby farm, and I was putting up a fence around his garden area to keep the deer away. And as I'm putting that fence up, putting the gates on the fence, a couple of peacocks came up behind me and just were watching me. And where they came from, I have no idea because I never knew there was peacocks in Minnesota, right? And they act like turkeys. But yeah, all of a sudden I look behind me and there's a male and a female behind me, and I'm like, where did they come from? And it was crazy. And then I filmed them walking away, because I turned around and started walking towards them and they moseyed on. But yeah, it was pretty funny just to see them. They were just watching what I was doing. So it was pretty funny.
I haven't seen a peacock in a while.
Yeah, now but I was so surprised.
Yeah,
I just turn around and, 10 feet from me are 2 peacocks, right? And the female was all white, and then the males are all colored. There's the brown with the blue, and yeah, it was just amazing to see it. Just crazy.
what's next for your business?
Just make it. I want to be able to get to the point where I'm running my business instead of my business is running me.
Gotcha.
And that's my main goal, is just to, I've been trying to find investors to make that a little easier on myself so I can grow and get new equipment, new vehicles and stuff like that. But just got to keep hacking, hacking away, and eventually it will happen.
How can our listeners get involved and support your mission?
Well, they can go to foodforestdesignminnesota.com, or else I have let me pull up this. I have a Give Send Go page for donating to my project to get a food forest in underserved communities. And it's Give Send Go /food freedom. So givesendgo.com/food freedom. And if they don't want to donate, Give Send Go has an option where someone can send you a prayer. And tell you what, you might not think it makes a difference, but one day all of a sudden I get a notice from Give Send Go, and it's someone sent me a prayer, and it was a woman. I listened to it, and she just prayed over my business, and just, she couldn't help me financially, but she loved what I was doing, and it was amazing experience. It really touched me. So it's not always a monetary thing, or that makes a difference.
You're right about that one. Last and for least, what message would you like to leave our listeners with?
You can count the number of seeds in an apple, but you can't count the number of apples in a seed. It makes you think a little bit, right?
I like that one.
Yeah.
I thank you. I
Yeah.
thank you for your time. I thank you for giving me the chance to interview you and get to know your business a little better. That was very interesting. I do like what you do. I hope everyone tunes in and listen to this. It's very educational, and yeah, I hope you get somewhere with this.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
And nice. Thank you.